Do you see on the bottom? Do you have a look on the bottom? If you run your cursor to the bottom of the screen,
Right.
there's a mute and a video to the far left. There's a microphone and a little camera.
How about stop video?
Well, we can try that.
That says recording. Vladimir, were you able to see me earlier today?
No, I haven't seen you.
Good morning.
I don't know why I'm not available for.
No, neither is Stephen. It's so Stephen and Greg.
Right.
It's the Jewel Show.
You got center stage with Vladimir.
And Lynn. Lynn seems to be.
Oh, there you go. I don't know what it would take. How about share screen? Would that help?
No, you cannot share because then you will share your screen. But you can start video. You just click on video, which is, I think.
Yeah, well, it's a different icon, I must say.
Mm-hmm.
Looks a little different.
Okay, I'm lost behind the scenes. Okay.
But Greg, can you see the text now? Can you see the text?
I can see the text, so.
That's all you need. It's okay. I'm gonna stop myself too.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a
We'd like
blank
to be on
audience.
manifest.
Permission to record?
Right, 1 second.
All of us.
Yeah.
Lynn, I don't know if this matters to you, but we only ever see the top of your head.
Yes, I know. The challenge is to get it so that I can actually see the screen too.
Oh.
There, is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, let us start with the mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirmaedhi vedasyama anistha shrutam me ma prahasi anena dhitena horatram samdadhami ritam vadishyami satyam vadishyami tanmamavatu tadvaktaramavatu avatu mam avatu vaktaram Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, here we have our hymn. It's the second hymn we are studying of Savitar from second mandala of Gritsamada Bhargava. And it is in Trishtub meter. We went through first 4 verses. Udushya deva savita savaya shashvattamam tadapabhahnir asthat nunam devebhyo vihidhati ratnam atha bhajat viti hotram suvastau Vishvasya hi shrushtaye deva urdhvah prabhava prithupani sisarti Apashidasya vrata animrigra ayam chidvato ramate parijman ashubhishchit yan vimuchati nunam ariramat atamanam chid etoh ahyarshunam chinyayana avishyam anuvratam saviturmoki agat Punah sam avyad vitatam vayanti madhya kartoh niyadhat shakmadhira utsamhayasthat viritun adardhar aramatih savita deva agat. So these are the 4 verses we read with you. Just to refresh the idea, stood up this god Savitar to move things upward. Most constant work he does, carrying all to summits. Thus holds he wide indeed the treasure for the gods, making the power of movement shared in their well-being. Standing high for all to hear and follow his command, he stretches his arms forward, having broad arms. The cosmic waters are devoted, attached to his way of action. And the cosmic life force rests in his law in a whirling circle. Even though he is moving by the fast steeds, now he sets them free. Even he made the moving thing rest in its movement. Even he came down to the desire of those who, with the python and night, followed the Savitar's will and the way of his action. Night is joining. And now this was the verse where we stopped. What was spread out in the vast by Savitar, she, the night, weaves again anew. Reweaving all, the powerful and wise Savitar leaves his work in the middle, half done. Having arisen, he stood up, holding the seasons apart of the sacrificial year. Savitar, the god, came to us with his mind full of luminous rays. So there are a few interesting things to continue with. First of all, night joins him, and then he leaves to her his work in the middle, half done, for her to reweave. She's avyad vitatam vayanti. She's weaving that which he spread. And that half work, half done, yes. He, in the second half, he, having risen some higher, so to say, asthat, he stood up, holding seasons apart. Adhardhar, he is constantly holding, how to put it, he is making seasons to be held constantly. Constantly is the word I'm adding to show this reduplication sense, but it is It is an aorist with the reduplication which is coming from the causative form. So the one who causes the seasons to be held V apart in a clear, distinctive manner. So there is summer, winter, seasons, the change of the year. So he causes it, he makes it happen. He is making them to be separated, to be separately held apart. And full of rays, he is coming to us, full of luminous rays in the mind. Ara matich, his mind is becoming luminous. This is, and again, aromatic is a very interesting term. Most probably Sri Aurobindo borrows it from the Rig Veda to explain his mind of light. At the end of his life, Sri Aurobindo came to this explanation of the change which has to come with the supramental being, how to say, coming closer to us. And this is very actual. In this hymn we can see it. When the Savitar approaches us, he brings this supramental light which is changing our mentality, makes it luminous. So our mind becomes, or our mentality becomes full of light. And that term Sri Aurobindo coins in his last years of his life is mind of light. For those who study Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, they know it very well. That was his last contribution. And this is very close to this term, ara matich. Matich is actually this mind which we have in our lower hemisphere, but it is full of luminous rays, ara. The other thing is that the night itself, as our lower hemisphere, revives his work, recaptures it, and fashions it in a new way.
Question?
Yes.
How would you distinguish mati from manas?
Well, we are talking about Rig Veda here, and neither manas nor mati is of the same kind what we have in the post-Vedic literature. Post-Vedic manas and mati is totally different. It is sense mind only. In the Veda, it is very different. It is rather, if I open the dictionary, you will see immediately the change of the meaning. Actually, I would always recommend everyone who wants to know the difference in terms to open the dictionary and see what translations are for what periods of time. Yeah. Sorry. Huh? Doesn't open? Doesn't want to open. Whatever I do. Wait a minute. Strange. This is very strange.
But it looks like that your dictionary, where the location is.
Yeah,
In other words, that's a shortcut.
Yeah.
And the location, the actual files of the dictionary are in a different spot now.
Could be. Yeah. Well, I will not do this to you now, because then we will not, we will engage with something else. And this is, I don't want to do now. All right, sorry for this. The dictionary cannot be used again. Something is happening too. Anyhow, let us go back to it. And it would be nice, but I will tell you that mati and manos is used in the sense of will, or even, you know, desire even, you know, in the sense of that drive, intention. And then later, of course, it is becoming a sense mind, starting from mental structure of consciousness in Sankhya. And that is the difference. In the Rig Veda, we have 3 definite terms coined with the mati. There is mati in general, which means mentality. And then there is sumati, perfect mentality, pramati, the invoking or aspiring mind, and anumati is the sanctioning mind. So all these minds are there. So pramati is that quest which Rishi is bringing in, and then anumati will be the answer to that quest. So to say, and sumati will be the result of their union. There was even the whole article written about these 3, pramati, anumati, and sumati, in the Vedic terms. But here we meet another term, aramati, and sounds like something aromatic, as if it is not happy. But then you analyze the word and you see that it is mati with the rays of light. So the thought full of rays, full of luminosity. The mind of light of Sri Aurobindo, very, very close to it. I do not know, maybe I'm not answering totally the question.
The mind provided by light?
I would rather say it is mind of light. Mind which has already light within itself. So transformed mental substance into the light substance.
Thank you.
Means that its very nature changes into this supramental or spiritual substance. It becomes spiritualized mind. It's not the mind which is there beyond the mind. It is our mind which has already changed in its character, becomes spiritual. Transformed mind. Yeah. So there are beautiful and very profound imagery here of the night being part of this process, which is assimilating light of the Savitar. So to say, she is impregnated by the light, as it were, and she works for the same. And basically, we see this imagery all the time in the Veda of the dawn and night, these 2 sisters who, with the same body, but with 2 different, or with the same mind, but 2 different bodies, are engaged in this manifestation. They are both feeding the growth of light. And night is also necessary for it, because to feed the light and to allow it to manifest, the night is necessary. She will be, how to say, holding it in her bosom and allowing it to dawn in a new fashion. I was already quoting from Savitri. You remember the last words of Savitri? That was about this, when the dawn is, holding within herself, or the night is holding within herself a newly born dawn, the dawn which is to be born. And that is the vision of the Veda, by the way, which Sri Aurobindo is using in his Savitri. So let us take another verse, which we didn't read yet. Nanaukansi Doriyo Vishvamayuh Vitisthate Prabhavah Shoko Agneh Jyeshtham Mata Sunave Bhagam Adhat Anu Asya Ketam Ishitam Anvasya Ketam Ishitam Savitra. The flame of Agni, Shokach Agneh. Shokach is the flame breaking through the darkness. In his violent marching forward, Vitisthate Prabhavah, spreads all over the universal life. Vishvamayu, Vitisthate kind of becomes everywhere, spread. Expressed as various dwelling places, Nanau can see. Nana Aukansi, Oka. Okas is the dwelling place, Vedic word. The mother establishes for her son, Mata, Adhat, Sunave, for her son, the best portion, Jyeshtham Bhagam, of delight. And accordingly, the consciousness is sent by the Lord Savitar. Anuasya Ketam, the consciousness of Ketam, or the vision, Ishitam, sent, Savitra, by Savitar. There is some secret here of the Lord Savitar and the mother working together. The Divine Mother, Aditi, the transcendental consciousness force. If we go word by word, Nana can see, Nana different, all can see the dwelling places, many different dwelling places, or residence. You see, Duriyah, belonging to the door or house, or so he spreads Vitisthate. He stands a kind of pervasive. He moves all over the universal life force. He pervades as he's dwelling different, as if in different dwelling places. The powerful flame of fire. Now we have fire, not Savitar. Savitar is entering into different, fire is entering, his flame is entering into different places in this world, into different dwelling environments, into different houses, being placed in different forms, in different bodies, as universal life force. And the Divine Mother, for her son, establishes the best portion of delight. The Aditi, of course, or the dawn. Usually the dawn is representing Aditi in the Veda when she is reaching out leaping out into the physical manifestation. She establishes for him the best portion of delight. And the Savitar sends his vision to him. So these delight and vision of Agni are basically coming from Savitar and Aditi, from the Lord and the Divine Mother in him. And this is very, very interesting passage in this sense. Because Agni is worshipped in the Veda in two different forms, as Yajatra, as that worthy of sacrifice, which I think belongs to this Ketam. Keta is from root chit, actually, chiketa. Ketu, also another word, as a vision, or also from the same root. So we can translate it as consciousness. So consciousness is part of the wow, look what we found. Consciousness is a part of this establishment of faculties, and that is where Savitar is the Lord. He is establishing the faculties, as in the later literature, as we saw it in Aitareya, there will be a Purusha who, out of whom all the faculties of consciousness came out and entered into, plunged into the, this inconscient ocean from which they cried and asked for dwelling place. You remember that, the whole vision. So here Savitar is kind of providing that consciousness for Agni, whereas Mother provides the best portion of delight. And this is something interesting, because the psychic being, the Antaryamin, the Chaitya Purusha, or in the later literature, is actually provided by the Mother. So to say, there are two elements, and the other element of Agni, when he is worshipped in the Veda, is called not Yajatra, but Priya. He is beloved. So on one side he is beloved and can be worshipped as beloved. He is Idiya, the most sought with adoration, with love. And so he is Priya and Yajatra. And in these two forms, as Rigveda says, the rishis are worshipping Agni, approaching him as beloved or as the worthy of sacrifice. And here we have it again. So one is provided by Savitar, bringing consciousness into action, into nature. And the other is that element of bhaga, of the delight, of the best portion of delight, which will become our psychic being, that Antaryamin within this manifestation. And this is very profound. I didn't see this before.
Question.
Yes.
So then the bhaga part, the delight part, is in relation to the mother here in this passage.
Right.
Okay.
So the best portion means what, though? Does it mean the most satisfying, the most nourishing, the most wealth providing? What is the bestness of, because it seems like all the delight is feeding the gods and feeding the creation, all of it. But what's the fact of this being parsed out as the best part?
The best portion of delight, and here you see bhaga is portion, But I translate it as portion of delight because Bhaja root and Bhaga is delight with short R, but the long R it is just portion. But it is not just portion. It's always in the Rig Veda. It implies the root, of sharing, of love, of that delight, ananda. And so that best portion of delight is Anandamaya Purusha. It is that in the later literature is Anandamaya Purusha, that amsha of the Ananda which becomes the soul within this manifestation, or the element of the soul or psychic being, which rishis, nutana rishaya, these modern rishis, as Rigveda says, discovered in the heart of man. They discovered that Agni is present within the heart of man. They knew him differently before. They knew him as that Keta, as consciousness rising in nature. But now they discovered him as a delight within the heart. So there was a shift of cult from more Purusha Medha, or the sacrifice of Soma Yaga, where the delight had to be found within the nature and offered to consciousness, to the faculties of consciousness in nature, which were representing the divine. That was the ancient way of sacrifice. And now it shifted to a new one when they discovered that he is in the heart as a beloved. I was mentioning already Abraham's sacrifice in the Bible, the same shift from one cult to another, where he heard the voice that he has to sacrifice not his son's body to God, but a pure lamb, a white lamb, as a symbol of the psychic being or the soul. So the love has to be sacrificed, not the body. And that was the shift in the cult. But here there are again two. On one side, she provides for the son again, Sunu. Sunu is again from the same root su to distill or to press out from root su, from which soma is produced, basically. So that's sun, for the sun, Agni. She creates the part of love, of delight within him, that element of the soul which we will be seeking later. And Savitar provides the consciousness, the light of consciousness. And this is a psychology of universals. It's a profound knowledge. I'm very glad that we discovered it today, because actually it gives us the whole paradigm how consciousness works. These two elements have to be there. Because I will just refer for a second to what I'm doing. We are engaged in creating a new, approach to studies of consciousness, integral paradigm of knowledge. And in that paradigm, we take two major approaches. One is to the faculties of consciousness, such as sight, hearing, speaking, thinking, feeling, and being in the body, how consciousness works. We take it from Upanishads. And the other one is that which cannot be explained, such things as, for example, sincerity or humility or gratitude, courage, equanimity, goodness, generosity. What are these? Where do they come from? Who generates them? I can understand there is something which generates consciousness, seeing, hearing, speaking, thinking. Yeah, there is some consciousness behind which uses these faculties to manifest, to reveal itself, or to reveal the being through them. But what are these? Sincerity. Who generates that? And here we have it. Look at this paradigm. This is the mother's. She takes the best portion of delight, which are these qualities: sincerity, humility, gratitude. Gratitude itself is unconditional love, bhakti, yeah? And aspiration, receptivity, courage, goodness, generosity, equanimity. These are the qualities which cannot be explained by the faculties of consciousness. So you can see that it becomes very I would say, important for us to understand ourselves. It's not just a history of religion. It's important even today. I don't know. I didn't want to confuse you with this kind of modern research, but if it makes a little sense, it would be interesting to see if you can even comment on it. I would be very happy. Usually Julia comments on these things. Julia.
Well, I would just make a comment that I think this sort of research is very necessary in this time where our very way of experiencing the world is changing with internet, with these communications. And I've had a chance recently to see how profoundly this is affecting infants and small children and who they will be. And we really are doing this research for the coming generations.
Yes, yes. In our university here where I am, we have this philosophy. Our university is called of integral and transformational learning. And the major approach here is that we have SOL subject for all. It's a compulsory subject, science of living, which through which we introduce all these values. Values of this divine mother imparting on her son, Agni, this sincerity, what is to be sincere, how it is to be sincere, how it is to be receptive, or grateful, or courageous, and so on. And then these values, we call them core values, they have to be discovered, because they give us an opportunity to be more effective in life and to be more truthful to ourselves. And we have to study this symbolism more. And there are beautiful things about it, about our soul. It is different from the faculties of consciousness. Very different. And we all recognize them. Yeah, Julia?
Well, I was just going to say that it occurs to me that all these values that you described, gratitude, humility, courage, etc., they exist in they are in every order of reality. It's just that they are not they're not ripened or refined. That's what the pressing out, the pressing of the soma seems to be, and that they are the best portions of delight when they're fully flowered in the higher realms of consciousness. But to me, I mean, even Donald Trump is grateful for some things. But I'm just saying that gratitude. I mean, all of these things are available in every order of reality, at every layer of creation. They just are not. They're not universal. They're not expanded to their full capacity.
Mm. Now, you said very beautifully that actually this is the best portion of delight, which is which they represent, and that's exactly what they are. That delight, and Sri Aurobindo describes these verities. He calls them eternal dharmas, and these eternal dharmas are truly universal. They are present everywhere in nature, in animal kingdom. In Mother says they are much more present in the, in the greenery, in the plants and um, trees. She says, if you start observing, if we start observing how trees are reacting when sun is setting, how they're all longing towards the sun, you would feel their, their adoration, their so that is full. Nature is full of this presence, yeah, of these qualities.
Receptivity and
Yeah.
certainly courage is every creature that ever, yeah. Anyway, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around this best portion of delight.
Right.
Because it at a certain point the universal dharmas, as you said, become something something more refined in some way. They become pressed out.
Right. And what Sri Aurobindo says is very interesting. He says that if you would have an opportunity to experience one of those eternal dharmas truly once, one of them, for example, courage, in the moment which is needed, you feel real divine courage, yeah? Then the delight of it is so intense that you would never be able to get rid of it. You would always seek to have it again and again. That's how we are attracted to it. And this is the best portion of delight. We are seeking this manifestation of these dharmas because they are full of delight. And this is a very good link to this shloka, to this Trishtup verse. Okay, so let us take another one, next one. Samavavarti vishtito jigishu vishvesham kamach charatam amabhut shashvan apo vikritam hitvi agat anuvratam savitur daiviyasya. What a beautiful sound, there's something totally beautiful in this kind of verses. Again, he comes back, Agni comes back, Samavarti Vishtitah, opening wide or opened wide, Jigishuh, desiring victory. Within all moving beings, he has become the desire. Charatam kamach abhut. Vishvesham charatam, of all the moving beings, kamach abhut, he became the kama, the desire. Having left the imperfect work behind, apach vikritam, distorted or imperfect apas work, hitvi, having left, constant shashvan in his aspiration, anuvratam, he moves ahead, following the law of divine Savitar, anuvratam savitu daiviyasya, of the god Savitar, according to the movement or rotation or the law of the god Savitar, he constantly, Shashvan, moves. Agat. having left hitvi apo vikritam, distorted work or imperfect work. This verse indicates the relation of Agni and Savitar. Agni is working out the urging, growing consciousness of the Lord from within the creation. But whatever work he has done, he leaves it behind and follows the law of the action of the divine Savitar, introducing a new divine energy into creation. There is a puzzle in this verse. Actually, it's not very clear why he leaves this vikritam. Having left everything which is distorted, he actually follows Savitar more than he is concentrated. Now I understand what it is. Yeah, when Agni grows from within, Agni is that agent of the growth of spirit from within, which Savitar represents. From within the night, crossing the night, returning to himself as Savitar does. So when Agni is growing, he becomes, of everything moving here, he becomes a desire. Sri Aurobindo is using it and explaining that desire is a smoky desire. It burns the lower levels of consciousness and being, where we are raw and not yet dry and ready to receive higher consciousness. So it presents itself as a desire, a vital desire, lower desire. If Agni would work with that lower level till the end, then he would never move ahead, would never grow in consciousness, because there is an infinite raw material there to dry it up and to transform. So to transform that material for Agni, even the divine force, becomes impossible in one go. So it has to grow to the higher level, partially transforming the lower level and leaving it behind, this work imperfectly done. He moves with Lord Savitar ahead from the physical to the vital, from the vital to the mental. And once these levels, higher levels, are established, which Savitar represents, then he can act upon the lower levels with more effectivity.
So, a related thing, I think, is, you see karma as being a drive for artha, to achieve artha. That said, here, this seems to be pointing to karma really as a drive for perfection. So, a constant move towards a more and more perfect, that as being the real drive here.
There is something interesting here. This Vikritam Apas is mentioned in the second line. So this karma, yes, of course, it is a manifestation of that drive of the spirit within the lower consciousness or lower being. And it is that karma which makes everything move. Can you imagine on the lower level of the inconscient or subconscious or ignorance, yeah? What would be the drive out of that ignorance, if not karma? Karma is the only drive. There is no knowledge there and can't be. It's ignorance. But the karma, that rajasic drive of fire which burns and pains and desires, yes, is the drive out of all charatam, of all the moving beings, Vishvesham charatam kamach abhut. He became the kama, the drive. Jigishu, he who seeks the victory. He is not victorious, he seeks the victory. He is, how to say, intending to come to the victory. And he is Vishtita, he is the one who spread out, stood everywhere. And he is Samavavarti, he comes back to himself totally through this movement, so to say. The same as Savitar. And as Savitar, he leaves half-done work, Vikritam, which is not totally finished on the level of karma, on the level of partial development, yeah, but it was enough for him to prepare himself for the higher jump into the higher consciousness, or to follow the drive of Savitar ahead. And Anuvarta Avratam, according to his rotation, his path of the god Savitar, he moves. He would not do the work till the end. And that's why it is mentioned, most probably that's why it is mentioned that Savitar leaves his work half done tonight to revive it, to recapture it in a new fashion. So this creates those layers after layers, establishments upon establishments. As the Rig Veda will say, the truth is covered by the truth. There is lesser truth, which is covering the deeper truth, and so on. Ritenartam apihitam dhruvam. By the truth is covered. So, and this is vikritam apas. This is the not perfect, but distorted, not final work. It's not complete yet. So it becomes a cover, it becomes the body, it becomes a separated way of existence for consciousness to grow. There is a wisdom in it, some wisdom in this all half done and not complete work, leaving distortion to be, to be supporting the individual development. Yes, somebody switched on. Yeah, please.
Question?
Yeah.
The desire, karma, the desire, two things I was thinking of. One, in the Veda, is it not such that karma is a descriptor of the desire of consciousness in the highest level? Why does consciousness become manifest? And also, secondly, here where it is saying within all moving beings there has become desire, it seems to indicate that there are non-moving beings, and that it would seem that the non-moving being may indicate the state of pure awareness, whereas in the moving being it is no longer pure awareness. But that karma, I just was thinking of karma here as meaning that which is related to the desire to become manifest. Is that incorrect, or?
Yeah, it's totally. I'm thinking the same way. The karma is that drive to manifest the divine, to manifest the spirit, but on the level where it can do only this way, karma. Yeah? But karma is not a bad word in the Rig Veda. Yeah?
That's what I was meaning. I mean, like it's really just a descriptor of why, because often the question is, why are we here? What is this movement? Why does consciousness want to experience itself? Or why is spirit infusing into matter?
Correct. And karma itself, now what I start to think that in Ayurveda, the longevity, the body's health is measured by the amount of karma. It's very interesting. I was surprised to hear this, but now I can understand why. Because within the physical being, yes, this is the presence of that spiritual energy. And the more it is there, the more it can sustain the body. It is the spirit in the physical and vital realm. It is known as karma. Yeah. Then later, when we come to the higher levels of consciousness or deeper, that karma becomes a problem because it drags us down to that level of consciousness, and we want to be elsewhere, and then it becomes an enemy. Yeah.
So, question. So in this context, kama is in some way related to Agni, being that propulsion to continue the quest to more and more refined levels of consciousness.
Right. Correct. That's what Sri Aurobindo says, that karma first is a smoky fire, and then when it is reaching higher levels, it becomes more and more purified flame without smoke. And on the mental plane, it becomes already free from that, heavy smoke of desire, which is on the lower level. But it is the same drive of the spirit. And this is the Vedic visioning. It is not the same in the post-Vedic literature. Kama is the enemy. In the Gita, Kama is the enemy, but not in the Veda in the total sense of enemy. It is that drive, that spiritual.
Constant in his aspiration. It's
Yeah.
moving ahead, following the law.
Correct. Shashwan, constant, absolute. Yeah.
Well, I have a question as a Jyotisha, because of course we have the four aims of life with Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, and they each have their symbolic and place and in the universe, and at least in the Jyotish, they get equal time and space at the beginning, aside from these other values added to it. So I don't know. It just seems as though this reflects to me more on this on the sort of treatment in the Vedas, as opposed to the later values attached to it, say in Gita.
But you brought very interesting perspective, which I didn't see, because Purusharthas are, of course, much later. In the mental structure of consciousness, they belong to our time, and Purusharthas are not mentioned in the Rig Veda. Definitely, they don't have this approach to Kama, Artha, Dharma, and Moksha. There is no Moksha, there is no Mukti in the Rig Veda. And but what is interesting, that Kama is first. The desire is first of these Purusharthas to be realized. Then there is Artha, then there is Dharma, and then there is Moksha. So being the youngest, so to say, among all in the time frame, if we look at them, it fits very well into this Vedic paradigm, and that is a surprise. So it is that smoke or that drive of the spirit which is on the lowest level known as that drive of karma of all the moving beings. And he is not concentrated on it too much to make it perfect till the end. He leaves this work, vikritam, not perfectly made, and follows the drive of the higher, of Savitar, of his law, because he has to establish all of those other movements, yeah, of other Purusharthas, all those Artha and Dharma, and finally liberate the spirit, and then come back. And that's why Savitar leaves half work undone, half done to the night, because night will be reweaving in the meanwhile, while he will be already establishing other fundamentals for our existence. There's some secret of this kind of fulfillment within manifestation by the spirit. It doesn't go linear way. There are waves, if you will. Yeah, there are cycles or yugas, so to say. Okay, I think we can stop here for today. I am very glad that we discovered this, the Divine Mother and Savitar offering two different dimensions of our consciousness. Today was very, very fruitful day. I can use this as a quotation for our studies, because I do this research in the integral paradigm of knowledge. There is so much to learn from the Veda. So much. All right, I will close with a mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Vladimir. Goodbye.